Welcome here to the first live stream that I've ever done. This will be interesting. Welcome to Bowling Over 50 with Alan Berger. I'm going to have to move some things around because this doesn't look right. Bear with me. We got a chat going on. You can ask me anything that you would want to ask me, and we'll see how that looks a little bit better. We got some stuff going on in the background. Since I've never done a live before, this is kind of a test for me. So we're just going to kind of see how this goes. I'm going to play the PBA from the first week on the CW in the back, and I'm going to just kind of not critique, but talk about some of the bowlers and what I like about their game. I'm not going to be critical of them. Obviously, they're much better than I am. So while I'm doing that, if you have any questions that you would like to ask me, feel free. We got just a couple of people on. Again, I'm just doing this as a test. There's some people that want me to do like a live practice session. And I do want to do that, but I got to figure out this live thing first. So anyway, so I'm going to play some video back behind me here, and we'll kind of talk about it. It's the first final for the Players Championship. And so, yeah, I'm going to turn the volume up on it just a little bit. You know, I watched the first telecast by the new commentator. I'm not real sure what his name is, and the color analyst, Kyle Sherman. And I thought they did a really good job. I used to do a little radio back years and years ago, and I thought they did a really good job of commentating. So, Kyle brings a lot to the table. I think he's got a lot to learn about trying to amp things up. You know, there's only one Randy Peterson, and he did such a phenomenal job. But over the last few years, he has not been perfect. Nobody's perfect. But he has been enjoyable to listen to for forever. When I started listening and watching bowling, it was a thing with me and my dad. It was every Saturday he would sit in his lazy boy, and I would plant myself right beneath him, and we would talk about bowling and watch Chris Schenkel and Nelson Burton Jr. talk about bowling. And I always loved Bo Nelson. He was very entertaining and that gave a lot of information. And Chris Schenkel was just absolutely the best. And it was appointment TV when I was a kid. You didn't have VCRs back then, and so we had to be there to watch it, or we were going to miss it. And so my dad and I we planted ourselves there, and we watched the whole thing. And I know I've said this in some of my videos. I was an Earl Anthony fan. I just a huge Earl Anthony fan, and if he wasn't on the telecast, I would get very disappointed. I mean, I'm a righty and he's a lefty, but he was just winning everything. He was only on the tour for 11 years, a very short period of time considering what some of these guys are now. And he was so amazing. Just accurate, and hit the pocket every time, and never went Brooklyn and never missed the head pin. It was just amazing. And then a few years later, Mark Roth came on the scene, and he was beating Earl Anthony, which, again, being an Earl Anthony fan, I didn't enjoy that a whole heck of a lot, but I could certainly appreciate the way he went about things. But it was, you never knew if Mark Roth was going to take 5 steps or 6 steps or 7 steps. For him, it didn't matter. And he really changed bowling. And the way he cocked his wrist and just ripped the cover off the ball, it was, even though I was an Earl Anthony fan and tried to mimic everything Earl Anthony did, I'll admit I saw what Mark Roth was doing and tried to mimic that as well. Wasn't as successful. There was a few guys that I was bowling against in tournaments that was much better at that than I was. Um, and so, watching bowling on TV was just, it was special. And then over the years, it's become different. There are a lot more things that you can watch on television now, and that really hurt the sport of bowling. Bowling, I'm not sure most of you guys know this, but bowling in the 70s and 80s actually got more ratings than the NFL at that time. Um, and you had guys, like Dick Weber and um, and those guys in the older generation and the people that were bowling at the time just fell in love with those guys. Um, I've had the pleasure. There's a lady here in the town that I live in. Her name is Mary Lee, and she was one of the managers at one of the bowling centers here in this town. And she dated a lot of those guys. She ran the bowling center, and then she had her own private club where the bowlers would go after they were in town bowling, and they would all show up. Dick Weber and Hardwick and those guys, and she dated a lot of them. So I got an opportunity to spend some time with Mary Lee and just enjoyed getting to hear the stories about the older bowlers. And so, for the last few years, bowling has been on Fox, and I thought Fox did a really good job. They're doing what they can to try to bring bowling back to the forefront. It'll never be what it used to be. It's just won't. There's just too many other things for people to watch. And so bowling will never have the same affinity that it had in the 70s and 80s. But things are improving. The purses are getting larger. I mean, $100,000 is a smaller amount than what it was per inflation back in the 70s and 80s. It's still less than that, but the purses are getting better. The talent now is absolutely amazing. And what EJ Tackett is doing, and you'll see him in this, and I will fast forward through some of this, but what EJ Tackett is doing as a one-hander and the amount of revs that he is getting on the bowling ball and the speed in which he is getting on the bowling ball along with those revs is absolutely amazing. And then you go back a few years and what Belmo kind of did for the sport in the two-handed game. And I don't want to get in the weeds with two-handed. Excuse me. I cough a lot. I don't want to get in the weeds with two-handed. I'll just tell you right up front where I stand. I coach bowling, not only to individuals, but also to high schoolers and my own children. And I told my children when they first started bowling that they were going to bowl two-handed. And if I could change and bowl two-handed, I would certainly do that. And so that's kind of where I stand with two-handed. I hope on the channel as we go forward, I'm trying to get my daughter, who is a very good bowler. She's a 5'2", two-handed. She won her state tournament. She won the Pepsi tournament. She had gone to junior gold a couple of times, and she placed 44th in her last junior gold, which she just really had one bad day. I think you're going to enjoy watching her bowl. She's absolutely amazing. I'm just very proud of her and what she's done. She bowled a JBT a couple weekends ago and won the girls scratch division, and she bowled scratch, so she ends up having to bowl against the boys. And she made cuts on both Saturday and Sunday. Real proud of that. Didn't think she was going to do that on Sunday. Matter of fact, on Saturday, she was 6th out of all those boys. So I was real proud of her for that. So I hope to get her on the channel, maybe do some competitions against her. I want you to meet her and and see her bowl because she's flat amazing and just enjoy it. And I've got a bunch of high school bowlers and people who have graduated that are two-handed that I've coached, and hopefully I will get some of them on the channel. So this is started behind us on the CW. We've got Spencer Robarge here lining up, two-handed bowler. He has been around the youth and college for quite some time. I've watched him bowl for probably 6 or 7 years. He does so many things extremely well. Mindset is probably the first thing that comes to mind when I think about Spencer is how he attacks the lanes. He is not scared, which is certainly important. By the way, if you want to ask me any questions, feel free to do that. I'm just going to keep rambling on and talking. And again, this is a test to see how this goes. I'll probably only go for about 30 or 45 minutes, something like that. So I don't have that much to say. So I'm just kind of testing to see what doing a live stream looks like. Anyway, so Spencer is just his mindset. I mean, he attacks everything. He's not scared, never tentative. I've always been very impressed with how Spencer throws the ball. Two-handed lefty, and he's got a really strong push away. He shoves that way out in front of him. I find that a lot in two-handers that they do push the ball way out in front of them because they're trying to get ball speed. One of the hard things to do and hard things for my daughter to do is get ball speed throwing it two-handed. Some of the taller bowlers, and you'll see one of them here in a little bit in the Iceman, is they can contort their bodies and keep their arms straight to give themselves a little bit more ball speed. That's one of the things I worked on with my son when he was bowling is to throw the ball like Jasper Svensson and keeping those arms a little straighter. My daughter at 5'2", and she's a little stronger, it does not have that capability. And so her arm swing is very short, and she cups it more like Belmo does. And that's who she kind of idolized. And we have great pictures of her with Belmo and several of the pro tournaments that I bowled in. And so it's just getting ball speed. And so they push the ball way out in front of them to get the swing started a little bit harder and faster. And it's all to do with their timing. Now, this kid, Brandon Bonta, I've watched him bowled at Wichita State. He with Spencer, as a matter of fact. Spencer Robarge and Brandon were on the same team. Man, he throws the ball extremely well. I want to point out a few things about his game that you ought to mimic, and one of the things is his head. Now, that's the first thing I noticed when he was throwing shots is he has his head kind of cocked a funny way, and when you look at him from the back, it's almost like his head is backwards. I mean, tilted way up. But that's actually a really good thing because he's got his chin up. And when you have your chin up as a one-hander, it is really hard to get your shoulders from being unsquare at the foul line. And then if you look at his head as he slides, his head doesn't move. His chin stays up, keeping his shoulders back, and he can get the ball on line a lot easier than the people that have their chest down and their chin down, and they tend to pull down with their shoulder, causing all kinds of things. You can push it to the right, pull it to the left, grab a hold of it, a lot of different things. And by keeping his chin up, his release becomes very, very natural. He doesn't have to think about it very much, and his release is phenomenal. We got Spencer back up here. He struggled a little bit early on in here, just kind of getting his feet under it. It's not like this kid doesn't know how to bowl on TV. He does. He's done it many, many times. It's just he just could not get lined up. And then we had a dual pattern in this show. I think it was Viper on one lane. Ooh, and I can't remember the pattern that was on the other lane. That's pretty bad of me. So they're, throwing two different balls, two different areas of the lane, and there we go. He leaves a split. That's kind of unlucky. I understand leaving one of them, but sometimes leaving the 7-9 like that, that's extremely unlucky. His ball deflected, missed the 9-pin, and the 7-pin was just going to stand up anyway. I mean, that shot shouldn't have left the 7-9. That shot should have left maybe a 7-pin. It just it was extremely unlucky. Anytime you leave a 9-pin or an 8-pin or something like that, it does seem like it's fairly unlucky. But it is, your ball's deflecting and it's not going through the pins the right way. Viper and Badger, thank you, RK. Yeah, you've made a few comments on the page, on the channel. I appreciate your comments. Thank you for your help on that. Well, they're there. There's a picture of Wichita State Shockers with Brandon and Spencer being on there, along with Chris Barnes' son. So anyway, we got commercials going on. Great show. Kyle started a little slow, but he's getting better. I don't think we'll have time today to go through the second show that happened this last Sunday. I would like to do one of these live with every show, just to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions and then talk about something, because I'm really intrigued with this year's season of the PBA. We've got a lot of rookies that are coming up that are really, really good. I mean, it's makes me extremely happy that bowling is getting younger. I've created this page for older bowlers because I am one, and I've been tinkering around and playing around with my own game, trying to get better and trying to compete with some of these younger kids. I bowl some regionals, and I like bowling against the kids. That's what I call them. But I do bowl some 50 events as well. But bowling with the kids is a lot of fun, and I enjoy watching them. And even in my region, there is some phenomenal bowlers. Eric Jones, for example, out of Oklahoma City. He made a show a year or two ago. It might have been 2 years ago. I don't think he was on a show last year. He is amazing. Got a chance to bowl against him, bowled some match play against him. He is phenomenal. And then he's got a good friend up in the Amarillo area, John Green, who you have not met yet. But if John can get some things going, I think you're going to see John Green coming around, and he's Anthony Simonson 2.0. He has all the tools, all the tricks. There's Brandon. Now watch his head. It is very steady. Look at that open hand as he releases the ball. He does bend that elbow a little bit and get that wrist and get those fingers below the equator of the ball. But that head, once he is down on the slope going towards the foul line, you could balance a plate of glasses on that head and it's not going to move. He's a lot of fun to watch, a lot of revs, very, very accurate. And I think that is due to his head position. Now, Spencer has a lot of head movement, but he has a ton of power. Right there, 526 revs, miles per hour, revolutions per minute, 526. That's a lot of revs. I don't even think I'm half that. So, absolutely amazing what these two-handers can do. So, I think he does pick this spare up. So, I think I'm going to turn around and let's see if we can fast forward and get into the next match. Brandon Bonta wins this match fairly handily. Spencer did have a challenge getting his ball to go through the pins the right way. So, we're just going to fast forward through this. Let's see here. It's still Brandon and Spencer. All right. As they say, the ice man cometh. So when I was teaching my son how to bowl and bowl two-handed, My son's 6'5", and one of the people, if not the person I wanted him to mimic or look like, is Jasper Svensson. As Randy would say, pound for pound, the strongest strike ball in bowling. A lot of revs, a lot of speed, and he mainly uses urethane. And the reason why he does is because his rev rate is so high. Reactive balls tend to get away from him down lane. So when you're using urethane, like he does, a ball can only hook in one place, really. It can have a slow, gradual hook that is one place, or it's going to hook early, not hook late, or if it doesn't hook early, it's going to hook late. And Jasper with reactive, and he definitely can throw reactive. Don't get me wrong. He's really good at it. But reactive balls, as lanes transition, tend to get offline for him fairly easily. And so urethane just allows him to control the pocket. Now, with 500, over 500 miles, revolutions per minute, he can make that urethane do things that, quite frankly, I cannot. I'm blessed. I love throwing urethane. I won a couple of tournaments this last summer throwing urethane, but I do it much differently than Jasper does. I am throwing urethane to control the pocket, and then I tweak my hand to try to change the angle at which it enters the pins, trying to eliminate what I call the urethane. It's a 10 pin that, because urethane hooks early, doesn't hook late, doesn't have the drive down lane that a reactive ball does, and so you get a lot of flat tins. Don't get that many wrap tins because I just don't have that much power, but a lot of flat tins because I'm throwing urethane. And so I just tweak my hand at the bottom, change the axis rotation to try to get it to enter into the pins a little bit differently to try to get that tin out. And I can stay in urethane as long as I am near the gutter. I can stay in urethane a very long time, longer than some of the two-handers can stay in urethane because I just don't have the rev rate, and I'm just wanting to hit the pocket, and then I just tweak it a little bit to try to get the 10 pin out. So that's kind of my goal with urethane, pretty good with it. But as the pattern transitions and you have to go left, a lot of these pros and the kids, they'll stay in urethane and just keep cranking on it, just bang on the thing is what they say. And I just can't do that. Once I have to get left, it's kind of over. I have to get into reactive and jump left and do all those kind of things. And urethane is just done for me. Interesting. One of the things I haven't talked about, and I can talk about now, and I'm planning on doing a video about it at some point in time, is urethane for me is like bowling in the old days. Our moves were different in the old days. So now, if you miss left with reactive, you move left. If you miss right, you move right. That's kind of the mantra. And on a house shot, it doesn't matter what you do, you're always moving left. Rarely do I ever find myself moving back to the right for any reason on a house shot. But so in today's game, it's miss left, miss right, move right. In the age that I grew up in, if you missed left, you moved right. And if you missed right, you moved left. And that's kind of the way it is with urethane today. For me, with urethane, my first move is always going to be right. And in this match, Brandon actually had to make a move on the right lane with his urethane ball. And his first move was to the right. Then later on, when he bowls later, he does eventually have to make a move left with that urethane, but his first move was right, a little bit closer to the gutter, moving the ball away from the head pin, which was kind of our goal back in the 70s and 80s, was If it was too high in the pocket, you wanted the ball to be moving away. You want to move away from the pocket to give it a little bit more room to hook, because it just didn't hook all that much. I mean, as a stroker, if I got the ball to hook 5 boards, I was tickled to death. So now the urethane balls, obviously with the core, back then they were a pancake. There wasn't anything in them. Any hook that I actually had was stuff that I created. Now they've got cores in them that the ball will help you. I've got a video planned. I haven't shot it yet, but I do have a video planned where I'm going to take a reactive ball that has not been drilled and put it on a ramp and hook the ball off of a ramp. I think it's going to be an interesting video. Probably April or May is when that video is going to come out. I've already shot several videos that are going to be coming out over the next few weeks. But I do have a plan to put a ball on a ramp and watch, so you guys can watch the ball hook without doing anything to it. Because a reactive ball with a core will hook on its own, without any help from you whatsoever. An ASIM ball, once you get it started down the lane, your whole object with that ASIM ball is to get it out of a natural roll that it will have that's built into the ball, throwing it down the lane without that natural roll, kind of getting it what I call in chaos. It's all kind of spinning around. That ball will eventually, as it goes down the lane, find a spot that will make it roll forward and balanced. And in that process of going from chaos to balance is when that ball will hook. And I hope to show that to you by putting a ball on a ramp and when we're letting you watch that as it goes down the lane and watch it hook without any help whatsoever. The chat is open. I'm here just talking. Again, this is just a test to see if I can do live. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask. I mean, I'll answer just about anything. This is just kind of for fun right now and just kind of testing the waters. Probably going to go for probably about another 20 minutes. See if we can get through the rest of this show that's going on behind me. Again, one of the things I want you to watch with Jasper is a little different than what Spencer was doing with his push away. His push away is out a little bit, but he kind of muscles it back a lot more than Spencer does. Spencer uses gravity to get it towards the back. Well, there's your wrap 10 from Jasper with that urethane ball. Boy, here's something else you needed to know about this show that I thought made this show extremely difficult. So they bowled the regular part of it in qualifying and match play in a bowling center there in the Dallas area, Euless, which I will be in Euless for Texas High School Bowling State on the 28th and 29th of March. If you want to come and find me and tell me I suck at what I do, I'd love to see you if you're in the area. So that's where they were bowling, and I think that's where they were bowling, pretty sure. And then for the championship matches, they moved to the ITRC. I thought that made the whole contest much more difficult, especially on the show, because the ITRC is completely different than Euless. One of the things they were saying is that Brandon Bonta was throwing the new concept from Storm, most of the time in qualifying and match play on the right lane. And then when he got to the ITRC, he needed less hook. And so he threw the 78U, the red ball from Storm, on the right lane at the ITRC. So the guys were having to play with equipment that they were not playing with in qualifying. The ITRC is different. It's a different center. It's a training facility. So they actually have, and in one part of that part. They've got certain parts that are exactly the same lanes. Then you move further down, and then they've got lanes with all the different lane services that are being sold today. And so they can test with their robot different lane surfaces with different balls and things like that. And when I talk about entry angle being 5 to 7 degrees, and I typically use 6 because it's right there in the middle, a lot of that testing was done right there at the International Training and Research Center in Arlington. So by them moving to the ITRC, it made this show much more difficult. So I do applaud them, especially Brandon, for what he did when on the move. He was lucky that he had the right side all to himself, and all he had to do was get that 78U to square up, and man, he was deadly. It was absolutely amazing. All right. We are watching commercials when we really shouldn't be doing that, right? Let's see if I can. Well, I can't skip them. They're not going to allow me to skip them. Good old YouTube. Well, if you do, we got a few people watching. That's great. I'm glad you found me. Please ask me any questions that you would like to. I'm just sitting here talking and testing, and I'm going to go back and watch this and see what I can do better. I wish I may have to look into finding some kind of studio software that will plug in with YouTube, so I don't have to play a TV behind me. That we might be able to do dual screen. I've got a lot to learn about this. I am old. I've said it multiple times in the comments. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, and this YouTube game is definitely new tricks for me. So I'm learning, trying to get better, trying to make my videos better. I have purchased some new equipment, but it is expensive. All right, we got Brandon back up here throwing that 78U, bowling extremely well right now. Right here on this shot, if you can see it, or you can go back and watch this after, watch his head. It doesn't move. Even at release, his head is really pretty stationary. Now, that's the hard shot to do. Never had to experience it, but shooting, never had to experience coming out of a commercial break, but you sit there and you think about all the different things you could do with this bowling ball, and you start going through things in your head, and then all of a sudden you step up and you lace one about 2 boards right with a urethane ball that's never going to come back. Got a good question on the chat. Do I have a ball contract? That is an interesting question. The answer to that is yes and no. I am affiliated with the Brunswick line of bowling balls based on some of the other things that I do. I am not an official brand ambassador for Brunswick currently. I am loyal to them right now for some of the things that they're doing with Brunswick. Is helping me out with they're the sponsor of a tournament that I run, as well as I do a boot camp in September, and pretty much the whole month of September and the first part of October. And Brunswick does sponsor that tournament for me. They give me quite a bit. I just have a lot of perks with Brunswick. So do I have a contract? Not really. Am I loyal to Brunswick? Yes, because of all the things that they do provide for me. As a matter of fact, I think my deal with Brunswick is actually better than being a brand ambassador, with all the perks and things that I get. But I will continue to be loyal to Brunswick. I did have a deal with Storm for a number of years when I was bowling a lot more on tour, and did love Storm. They were great. It's just Brunswick. My Brunswick deal is much better, and so I'm a Brunswick fan. I have had to. Let me be honest here, and I might not should say this. Storm equipment kind of lines up with my game just a tad bit better. Storm bowling equipment tends to have more back end reaction than most of the Brunswick stuff, except for the Black Widow series from Hammer. And And I have combated that by playing around a lot with layouts of bowling balls and surfaces of the Brunswick bowling balls. And I've come to realize when I do those kind of things that I can get a Brunswick ball to do exactly, if not better, what I was doing with Storm. Now, the one brand that I've tried to throw, never had to deal with when I was kind of an independent, I did throw some motive equipment. And for me, and the way I throw the ball, the heaviness of the motive core did not really set up really well for my game. Now, there was one ball from motive that I absolutely loved, and I threw it in one house and one house only and made pretty decent money. It's at 10 pins and more in Albuquerque. I threw the Jackal Ghost from motive, and that heavy roll served me very, very well there in that center. But I couldn't get it to work anywhere else. The core is just too much for me to handle, and it's a little too slow. I like things because of my lack of rev rate and the angles that I like to play. I like balls that store up a little bit more energy and that are as sharp as I can make them down lane. Now, compared to the kids, my sharpness down lane is much different than theirs. When I say check mark or hockey sticky, that's in my eyes and nobody else's but mine. So when I do these videos and I make a comment about that, y'all might look at that and go, well, that wasn't much of a check mark. But in my world, with my lack of rev rate, it was. So I do like smoother reactions on some things. I talk a lot about symmetrical bowling balls, which I do throw quite a lot in tournaments, sometimes in league as well, depending on what the lane's telling me it needs. So, and that tends to be a little smoother. And I talked earlier about the fact that I like urethane, which is a lot smoother. But when I do have to move left, I've got to have something that's got a big core that is going to make a move down lane, because I'm going to go at the spot from a left area that most older people don't like to play. I've got a plan on a video. I haven't shot it yet. And it's going to be lane play for a house shot and kind of going through the various areas on the lane for somebody who is over 50 in the areas that they can play. Well, I'm going to fast forward here again through this. Brandon takes care of Jasper fairly handily. If you haven't seen it, I hate to be a spoiler here, but Brandon's just got it going right now. They're both throwing the 78U. Jasper's throwing it on the left and the right lane. I think he is throwing two different balls, though. I think he's got two different drills, one for the left lane, one for the right lane. Brandon is, I think he's throwing the 78U on the right lane and on the left lane. I don't remember. I think the bio, I think he goes to that. I think, does he start with a transformer? Again, I don't know the storm balls like I used to. But he was throwing a big ASIM on the left lane and then the 78U on the right. Got a question. I like that. Well, it's more of a statement, I guess. I like the last video you made. It was super informative. I'm assuming you're talking about the diagram of a lane. I called it diagnosis bowling lane. Wow, that's an interesting story of why I even shot that video. I did that video yesterday. A lot of these videos that you see, I go in and shoot, some of these videos you're seeing right now or that are going to be coming out this week, I shot like a month ago, or at least a couple of weeks ago. This video came about because I've got a video coming up about lane adjustments, and I started thinking, wow, I'm going to be talking about things that new bowlers may not have heard before. And yes, we have a lot of older bowlers that are watching the channel, and that was what it was originally designed for, because there just wasn't anybody out in the YouTube space that wasn't a pro that were showing techniques. And I'm watching these guys, and it's great information, and I will certainly try to do what they're showing, but what if I can't? And so I wanted to do a channel that would help the older bowler. But what I found is we're getting a lot of new bowlers to the channel, people that have not bowled before, people that are just bowling. There, one gentleman messaged me today. He's trying to get ready to bowl in league next year, and that he's using my videos to try to improve so he can bowl next year. And I started thinking, I've done a really poor job of explaining my language and the way I communicate things. And my messages to people, my comments to people are having to explain myself over and over and over again about how I am communicating what I'm trying to say. So I wanted a video that I could refer them back to, so that they could learn the verbiage and understand the bits and parts of the lane. But now what I've realized is that even some people who've been bowling for a while, or even some intermediate bowlers, um, didn't know about all the different aspects of what is available to them for targeting on the lane. And then, I've had a discussion with a 50-year-old lady that is concerned about using the dots as an aiming system. And yeah, and which I totally understand why she would be concerned. Um, that's hard to do. I mean, if you've always looked at the arrows and you then move your eyes closer to you to that first row of dots, it is more difficult to initially. But the reason, and I told you in the video, the reason why I did that is I used to have a horrible loft. Um, Trying to do the new things that the kids are doing with the bowling ball with a stroker's mentality caused me to really hit up on the bowling ball. I couldn't get my hand to do what I wanted it to do, and so I'm grabbing a hold of the ball and hitting up on the ball, and now the ball is flying. And there was several times when I'm throwing it to the arrows or even past it, and that's not successful. Um, it makes it doesn't give me a whole lot of room for that ball to hook on the lane. And so I was working on, the release and trying to get it down. And I thought, well, if I start looking closer to me, you can't see my hands. If I start looking closer to me, I can focus on trying to get the ball on the lane a little faster, and maybe I won't hit up on it so much, and maybe I can get my hand to just get down. And so I started focusing on the dots. Now, the trouble I had at focusing on the dots was the moves are not the same. At the arrows, that distance, because it's about 1/3 of the lane, 1/4 of the lane, a 2-in-1 move is on a right angle, the angle side of a right triangle. And I could keep my look at the arrows and my down lane break point virtually the same. I could keep them on that angle. But if I move my eyes to the dots, well, now everything moves closer to me, and any move I make is not on that angle side of the right triangle. So I worked with that for a year, and the whole point was for me to get the ball on the lane sooner and try to get my wrist, you know, down and roll the ball off my hand. I got that done. And then as soon as I felt comfortable with where I was releasing the ball, I moved my eyes back to the arrows, because the dots just made things a ton more difficult. Plus, before then, I didn't realize that those dots were so random. I ended up doing a little study on it and trying to figure out why in the world those dots are constructed the way they are. And I will tell you right now, what I figured out about those dots is absolutely nothing. Nobody can tell me why those dots are placed where they are. Can't figure it out. I've looked it up on Google. No real great answers. They just tell me what they are. I've talked to some older bowlers. Nobody really knows. I don't think. I mean, you might have an opinion on it, but definitively, not sure. All right, got another question or another statement. Mostly interested in lane adjustments, i.e., move 3 boards right. Not sure if it means move your feet 3 boards right or move the ball on the lane 3 boards right. Keep doing a good job explaining everything. Well, let me explain that. So you'll hear me, and I talked about it in that video about how I communicate. If I'm making a 2-in-1 move, the first number I give you is the 2, which is what I do with my feet. The 1 is what I'm looking at. So if I'm looking at 7 or 8 at the arrows, and I move my eyes 1 board left, then I'm looking at the 8 or the 9 board. So the second number is when I communicate those. The second number is always going to be what I'm looking at. And I will always be looking at the arrows. The first number that I will give you will always be with my feet. So anything that is divisible by itself is a, and I really wish I could come up with a right word for this, but any numbers that are divisible by themselves keep you on an angle, the angle side of a right triangle, which keeps the down lane spot that you're trying to hit in line with that angle. So a 2-in-1 move, 2 is divisible by 1. And so that keeps it on that angle. So your down lane spot stays the same. So if you're going to move, like if you're moving 3 boards right, then with your eyes, if you're moving 3 boards right with your feet or left with your feet, if you move 3 boards left with your feet, you're going to have to move your eyes 1.5 boards because that keeps them divisible by each other. The second number divisible equally into the second number. If you're going to move 6 boards left with your feet, you're going to have to move 3 boards left with your eyes. That keeps it on the angle side of the right triangle, and that keeps your down lane spot the same. If you want to change your down lane spot, so let's say, for me, here's how I go about doing this. This is a great question. Now we're getting into a long video. So typically I try to hit somewhere between the 3 and the 8 board down lane, depending on the ball that I have and where I'm getting it, my ball to get on the entry angle that I need. I'm looking somewhere between 3 and 8 down lane. So I draw an imaginary line from that spot through the arrows to where I'm going to be standing. I visualize that angle of the right side of a right triangle. So any move that I make, I want to keep that same down lane spot in play. So those moves have to be divisible by themselves based on the theory of the right triangle. So, 6 and 3, 4 and 2, 5 and 2, 2.5. Those need to be in line with themselves. If you want to change your down lane spot, so let's say that 7 board that I've been looking at for a game and a half is not working and everything is dried up, and I want to move that spot 2 boards left, then I've got to make some abstract move, like a 5 and 2, a 6 and 4, or things that are not divisible by each other, and that changes. That weird abstract move changes your down lane spot, and so you've got to kind of. I'm not going to tell you to sit there and do geometry. I'm glad I took geometry in high school and in college because I learned a lot from it. But it's certainly helping me in bowling, especially with angles. But that's something you kind of got to play with. If I need to move my break point to 2 boards left, what's the move for me? And then what you inevitably do, big word for me, is you will try to draw that line from the spot you want to hit down lane through the arrows to your feet, and you throw your shot, and you're going to take 3 off the right. That's the learning curve that you have to go through. It's not something I can fix for you, and certainly give you no great technique, but I will give you a thought. Here's the thought. My thought, anyway, is if I've got to change my break point down lane, and I've got to change my down lane spot, I'm going to go ahead and make the big move, because the chances of me getting a light mixer or touching the head pin or leaving a washout is much easier to take than ripping through the face and leaving big 4 bedposts, some kind of 210, 410, some kind of 4-7-10, things that are not makeable versus something that is makeable, like a washout. Not easy, but it's I would rather have that than rip through the face and continue to be stupid. It's the old adage, what's the definition of insanity? Continue to do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That is bowling. I watch it every night in league. I watch guys throw the same shot after same shot. Their break point is wrong. They're making 2-and-1 moves, 1-and-a-half moves, things of that nature, keeping their break spot in the wrong place. And all of a sudden they're leaving split after split after split, and they don't fix it. Oh, before I get off with this, we're into 51 minutes, so I'll go ahead and go the full hour. What the heck? Graham Faw, you see him back here. Oh my goodness, do I love this guy's game. He is absolutely amazing. Watch this. He won't push out. He just drops the ball, gets right into the swing, and he reminds me, and I know he's done this. I haven't talked to him. I don't know him personally, but if I was going to bet money that he watched Tommy Jones and learned from Tommy Jones how to throw the ball, because he is a mirror image of what Tommy likes to do. Now, Tommy gets a little bit lower at the foul line, which I am learning right now is not that big a deal, but Graham Faw is still got a bright future ahead. He is the very first Canadian to ever win on tour before Francois Lavoie, Frankie. And now Graham does something that I played with a little bit. He goes with the open palm. He turns his palm where the ball is outside his arm swing when he gets to the apex of his swing, and then he drives his arm underneath him so he can work the inside part of the ball, which I tried to do for a little while, and oh my goodness, I failed miserably. That was I could miss it with the best of them. Oh, again, Brandon Bonta just put a little loft on it on that one, and what loft did for him is get the ball to hook a little bit later down lane. The more air ball can hook in the air, get it out on the lane a little bit so it doesn't hook early. But Graham Faw has an absolutely amazing bowling swing. It's if you're going to mimic somebody other than the open hand at the top, I would look into Graham Faw and the way he releases the bowling ball, and he still gets over close to 500, if not over revs. He's absolutely amazing. So I would, and he's a cool cat. I actually have bowled around him. Hey, Mike Albee in the stands. Loved Mike Albee. Great bowler. I just love to watch Graham Faw throw the bowling ball, as well as I enjoy, Tommy Jones. I think Tommy Jones is absolutely amazing as well. Let's watch this. I've got another question. I've got about 6 minutes left. I'll try to get to that question. I want to watch one more shot by Graham here. We're going to miss the final match, but Brandon Bonta goes and wins his first title. Oh, he's throwing the Brunswick Crown 78U. I've done a ball review on that ball. That ball flares. Most urethane balls don't flare. Well, the hammers don't. The black hammer and the purple hammer don't flare all that much, where the 78U does have a different core in it, so it does flare. Flaring just means that you have more potential hook because it's not spinning over the top of other oil. It's actually, as it rotates on the lane, that it's finding a drier spot on the bowling ball, which makes it does hook more. And that's one of the big reasons why he got that 10 pin out. But then he's throwing, I'm not real sure what he's throwing over here. But anyway, all right, here's the question. I'm a new bowler, over 60. I bought a ball and had it drilled at the alley. When I have gone to practice, I have a number of times that my thumb sticks in the ball. What should I do? Okay, well, you're going to hear me say this, and then we've got a video coming out March 9th about this. You got to make sure your ball fit is correct. If you don't like the way the ball is fitting, and if you can get your thumb in the ball and out of the ball without it sticking, if your fingers are not in the ball and you can move your thumb in and out of the bowling ball, then the thumb is probably drilled right for your thumb, but you might have a pitch issue that might not have gotten checked correctly. Your ball might be pitched, your thumb hole might be pitched in the wrong direction or not enough. It is okay, everybody. It is okay to get a second opinion on ball fit. If you don't like the way your ball is fitting, go to someone else and just have them check it. Have them look at your hand and see what they think you ought to do pitch wise. I will always recommend an Ipsia master ball driller. I go to one. You're going to meet my ball driller on March 9th. He is a kid, but he is a master ball driller. And Ipsia has a system in which they determine pitches in bowling balls. And I had some elbow and wrist pain, which caused me to wear a wrist brace for a while. And I worked really, really hard on getting my pitches and my span correct. Matter of fact, I saw 2 or 3 different ball drillers before I settled in on a certain way I wanted my ball drilled, and I got rid of the wrist brace. So I recommend an Ipsia. It's okay I know you want to be loyal to your ball driller, but sometimes you got to look at, make sure it's right. Beyond that, plumbers, emery pad. It's a deal that they use to plumbers use to sand down copper tubing. You can buy it in rolls. I keep a roll around. I'm always cutting it off for kids. And then you're going to want to sand your thumb hole down. Not real sure where you're sticking, so you would have to tell me that. Tell me where you feel the tug. If it typically is on the outer edge, the leading edge, the top part of the thumb hole tends to grab the webbing in your hand, and that's where it feels like it sticks. If it is on the back side of the ball, you just sometimes if it's on the back side of the ball, I sand the front side of the ball. You just kind of sand around until you find a spot that you can get it to fit your thumb a little bit better. And then just make sure you're not kinking your thumb in the bowling ball. Before you do a whole lot of things, one of the things you can focus on is taking your thumbnail, and when it's in the ball, and pushing it to the back of the ball where you are grabbing a hold of the ball with the webbing of your hand. So you're grabbing this way. Okay, let me back up. You're grabbing this way and not kinking your thumb. A lot of people, if the ball is not fitting properly and the thumb hole is too big, they will bend their thumb to keep their thumb in it. So if you're doing that, you may be sticking. So I would focus on taking your thumbnail and pushing it on the back side of the bowling ball, and try that before you do too much of anything to that thumb hole, and then start working on that leading edge, the top edge of the thumb hole, and trying to round that out, because sometimes it grabs the webbing of your hand right here. If you would look, I have a callus right there. And that's from me grabbing the ball this way because I don't want to grab the ball this way. If I'm going to grab it anyway, it's going to be with my thumb that way. I hope that helps you with that. Bonta with the 300 game has a sweet release. I wish I could be that smooth and really like his release. Yeah, you and me too. If you look at him, that ball just rolls off his hand and he just pushes that hand forward. It's an amazing release. He does have a slight elbow bend, but he bends it later in the swing. Not wrong. Not a wrong part. He bends his elbow, gets his fingers underneath the equator, and then that ball just rolls off his hand, and then he just flicks it down there, and he's got a ton of revs. It's an amazing release. We're about done with this. Big Bill 54 says thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you guys came. We didn't have a ton of people here, but it's my first one. It's a test. I'm learning. Yep. Let's watch him. Ooh, see him just push that elbow bends, and then you flick that elbow, and then rotate your hand up the back of the ball. It's absolutely amazing. Have a good bowler watch you and make sure you're holding the thumb and the ball correctly. That's also a good thing. Kind of hard to do, but yeah, have somebody that knows what they're looking at watch you throw the ball and making sure that you're not grabbing a hold of it and kinking that thumb. Well, 54 Big Bill, when I do drills at home to practice getting my thumb out first, I feel it as if it is sticking sometimes. Thanks for the guidance. Well, we'll see. Get that thumbnail at the back part of the ball, and if it's still sticking after that, then it's time to do some sanding. I usually, when they drill my equipment, they poke the holes in there, and then I do everything else because I want to. Now I use an interchangeable thumb, but when I drill new thumbs, I want to do working those out myself. Also, look at your thumb. If it's round, you may need an oval thumb. So you need to go to somebody that knows how to drill an oval because thumbs are not round. And you will hear more about that on March 9th. And if you only have one ball driller in the town that you're at, then next time you go to a big city, bring your bowling ball with you and a ball driller at a different center. Look for the IPSIA tag if they've got that on their door. You can also go to the IPSIA website, IBPSIA website, and you can find ball drillers in your area that are master drillers. Any recommendations for third game ball after the big ASIM ball starts burning up using Brunswick Mesmerize? Oh, okay. All right. I don't throw a lot of big balls in league. I'm in a pretty high friction house, so I use a lot of pearls. I also like to play the gutter, which in a typical house shot, there's not much oil there either anyway. And so a big ball now I have a bunch of them because I bowl tournaments and I've got an extreme envy and I've got two regular mindsets, one drilled pin up, one drilled pin down. I've got Black Widow 3.0. I've got Makuta. I've got I've got a few other ones. So what ball to go third game? Well, if the Mesmerized is working, I believe the Vaporized is the Pearl version. That would not be a bad ball. That's going from ball to ball. For me, depending on your rev rate, if your rev rate is fairly low and the Mesmerize is hooking, but you're not hooking the entire lane with that thing after you've moved left with it a few times. I mean, the Black Widow Mania. Whew. That's a tricky one because I love the Black Widow Mania. I've got one drilled pin down and I've got one drilled pin up, and that tends to be the ball that I start with, but that ball hooks a lot. And it's my pin down. I throw my pin down more than I throw the pin up because the pin up gets a little squirrely down lane, especially if I'm playing a little closer to the gutter. And so I throw the pin down to kind of tame that down, but it still hooks a ton. And so that is an option. The 2.0, is, I think it's still available, and that would be a really good option. I throw also when I ball down from the Mania, I ball down to an anger, not an anger, to a hater from DV8. I really like that ball. But what's funny is I tend to like balls that didn't sell very well for whatever reason. And the hater did not sell very well in the Pearl version, and I'm not real sure why. I think you can still find them. It's a little bit smaller core than the Mania, but there's a couple options there for you. Um, I mean, find yourself a good Pearl. If you don't have one, find a good Pearl ASIM, go to that. If that ball is too big, I would find some kind of Pearl symmetrical ball to get it a little smoother, depending on where you play on the lane. The third game ball, it all depends on your rev rate, what area of the lane you like to play. You can play with a house shot, you can play inside, you can play outside, you can throw it to the gutter, you can float the head pin. There's a lot of different ways people attack a house shot. So it kind of depends. The most important thing, I guess, I would say is it was, ball down to a Pearl of some sort, whether it's a Pearl ASIM or a Pearl Sim. I'm doing great. No worries. My family tells me I like to hear myself talk. So maybe that's why I'm doing okay. Have been throwing the hammer effect, but it's just unpredictable. Pearl ASIMs, yep, and that's a great ball. The hammer effect is a phenomenal ball. It didn't, I drilled one for me. I drill all of them. Well, until recently. I don't know what's happened. I haven't gotten any new balls in a while. I had that one. I did give that one to my high schoolers because you're right. It is a little unpredictable, especially with my lower rev rate. I can find an out of bounds with that on a house shot that I could not find with any other ball. And I have that same problem with a couple other balls that are in my arsenal right now that if I just completely miss it, it's not ever going to get close. But also, if I catch all of it, that ball's going left. So it's a hammer effect's a good ball. I like the Mania. I would be cautious with it. You might, if it sounds like something you want to throw, drill it pin down. The other thing, may I make this suggestion, is since you have a hammer effect, and my guess it's drilled pin up, is to get you a Mania, drill it pin down, and then you have a pin up version and a pin down version that might be useful when you bowl some tournaments, maybe in different centers. So that would give you some options. The pin down will make it a little bit smoother, but the Mania will still hook. So uh, you could go get another Pearl ASIM and drill it pin down, and that would also serve the same purpose. It would give you a couple of different looks to help. So I hope that helps. Let's see. I have two used balls: Hammer Hazmat, okay, and the Brunswick Rhino Pearl. How do you recommend balls that are a good transition to switch? So many balls out there. Yeah. So the Hazmat, if I'm not mistaken, that ball came out before I was with Brunswick. I believe that is a Hazmat. That's a solid ASIM, I think. And the Rhino Pearl is a symmetrical pearl piece. Boy, how do you recommend balls that are good? Wow. If that's the only two balls you have right now, I would look into a Pearl ASIM. That Brunswick Rhino Pearl will get you out of a lot of bad sticky situations because it is going to be smooth. And the Hazmat could get you into those situations by burning up the lane because I believe it is a solid, if I'm not mistaken. So there are so many balls out there. I mean, again, the Mania comes to mind because it's like my favorite ball right now. The mindset versions, the intense mindset, which I do throw, I don't think is available right now. I probably need to look at that. I may come back to this and try to answer that in the chat after this video is done. I've been throwing the hammer. Unpredictable. I threw a shot that went 10-3 and then Brooklyn. Okay, yeah. Oh, doesn't sound like the ball I would want to be throwing. That's for sure. But the hammer effect is a good bowling ball. So, but you might need something a little bit tamer. I tell you, I love the No Doubt. It's a symmetrical pearl. It's got some hook to it, and I really do like it. It's a great transition piece. Sometimes I start with it. So that's another ball. I'll tell you, man, I'm gone way over here. I threw the when I was with Storm, I loved the Zen. The Zen, it was smooth. It hooked a lot. It hooked in the right place. Love that ball. So when I moved over to Brunswick, I wanted a ball that behaved very similarly to it. And so I picked up a No Doubt. Initially, that ball was very, very forward for me, meaning the ball would roll forward way too early. You In one of my videos, hook, skid, and roll. I mean, skid, hook, and roll. You do want the ball to roll. You just want it to roll in the right spot. And the No Doubt was rolling way too early for me. Did a little surface change on it. It is nowhere near what the Zen was, but it's been a really good ball that I can go to if I need to control the pocket. And my Pearl ASIMs have just given away, and nothing else I can go to. I can go to that No Doubt and really control the pocket. And if I can keep it close to the gutter, it'll strike a lot. I threw a shot that went in, and then Brooklyn. Yep. How about the Widow Tour? I'm thinking you're talking about the Tour V1. I have one. I have thrown it in league. It is a hybrid. That ball gets way down the lane for me, which is not a bad thing. I just have to make sure that I get it to the dry pretty quickly. And then it's kind of more of a hook set, meaning it hooks really hard at the beginning and then it sets and rolls and goes forward. If I let the ball do what the ball is intended to do, which is get down the lane and hook really hard, I have to be in a different part of the lane than I normally play my house shot on. So it's a great ball. I did a ball review on it. I love the way it reacts. I just, when I throw that ball, I have to basically change zones. And so I don't throw it a lot in league. And I haven't been in a tournament yet where that ball would come into play. So I do like the Widow Tour V1. I like all the Widows. I think I've got them, nearly all of them. Anytime one comes out, the 2.0 really looked good. I drilled it pin up. It had some kick on it. I still throw that a lot of tournaments in another house here in this city. It really, really looks good. Then I got the 3.0. It was a really early hooking big ball for me. So I've kind of polished it up to give it a little bit more length. And so that's kind of my mid-range ball. And so I've got an Envy that it's got some surface on it. And then when that peters out, then I've got that 3.0 that hooks a little bit later. So I love the Widow City series. All right, we're going to go last question or last statement from Gun Store Viking. I don't really hook the ball much, and that was scary. Well, yeah. Kind of curious. If you got time, we'll go just a few more minutes here. You know what your ball speed is? If you have that on your monitors, keep in mind that the monitors are downlane hook. So it's not, it's accurate. It can be accurate if everything's done well. you see the ball speed here on the PBA, and they're throwing at 18, 19 miles an hour. That is not what they would see on your monitors at your bowling center. They're going to be seeing somewhere between 14 and 16. So their speed is basically off their hand. Let's see. I don't really. Okay, we're still there. I'm waiting. Normal 14 and a half with fairly low rev rate. Okay, so you've got good ball speed. 14 and a half is kind of what I see on the monitors, and I am somewhere between 16 and 18 miles an hour. And when I throw the ball, I don't have a lot of revs either. I have no idea what my revs are. I haven't had that checked in a while. I don't really care. I know I get made fun of all the time. I mean, the joke around my place is if you can read the label of the bowling ball as it's going down the lane, you don't really worry about how many revs you have. And that's kind of the joke with me is I have a lot of ball speed. I think my revs are probably high 200s, maybe low 300s, something like that, with off my hand somewhere between 17 and 18 miles an hour. So we're very similar, I think. I might hook it a little more than you, kind of based on what you've told me here. Yeah, throwing a hammer effect, and if it goes Brooklyn, you might, if you want to keep that ball and you don't like the unpredictability of that ball, go have it plugged and drilled, pinned down, tame it down. You might like it then. Sometimes I do that. There's balls out there that people tell me that are absolutely phenomenal. I drill them to fit my arsenal of what I'm needing at the time based on the information that I've been given by the ball reps and by my pro shop. And I drill it that way, and I don't like it. And so I'll go and plug it and drill it a completely different way. And once I know what the ball is doing and what I want it to not do, if that makes sense. I don't want the ball to do this. I take it to my ball driller and say, this ball is doing this. I don't like it. And then they'll give you some suggestions of how you can plug that ball and possibly re-drill it in a way to tame some of that out of it. I don't get too excited about revs. I see young guys throwing at 300 plus and can't control the pocket. Yeah. You're right. More revs, more power, more strikes. I want to find a few. But I'm also a lot more accurate than a lot of those guys throwing at 300. It's not that their amount of revs can't control the pocket, it's that they can't control where the ball is going. And when you have a ton of revs and you can't control where the ball is going, a lot of bad things will happen. And so you miss left, they miss way left. They miss right with the ball spinning as fast as it is spinning in the oil. They'll dump it in the gutter every now and then because they can't control where the ball is going. It's what I tell my students. I ask them this question all the time. Do you want to hook the ball or do you want to strike? And the ones that say they want to hook the ball, don't spend a whole lot of time with those guys. If they say they want to strike, then let's figure out how to be more accurate with all that power you've got. Let's see if we can get this ball into about a 6-inch square area down lane. And if you do that, you've got all the miss room in the world and all the power in the world. You're going to strike a ton. For me, higher ball speed, lower revs. I bowl in a phone booth pretty much every league, and that's fine by me because I'm going to be within 2 or 3 inches down lane every time I throw the ball. If I go Brooklyn in league, there are people fainting because they have not seen me ever do that before. Now, I will go light in the pocket all day long because I make big moves. When I make big moves, I can get light in the pocket, and that just suits me just fine. Light mixers are phenomenal. Oh, I see a lot of 2-8-10 splits. by those guys. Yeah, you do. A lot of 210s, a lot of 410s, a lot of 2810s, a lot of upper decker 7s. And those guys can't spare it very well typically. And so I am perfectly fine with whooping the pants off of them, and they get very frustrated when this old man whoops their hiney because they're going to 2810 all the time. And the 2810 is a high hit that comes in at a very steep angle. And sometimes to get that, it's a little bit behind the head pin and not enough to drive out the 8. And so they have a ton of power. They just got the ball down too far down the lane, and it drove too hard at too sharp of an angle, but not sharp enough to get out the 8 pin, and it stands. Typically, you would see them throwing a lot of 210s. The 2810 is somewhat unlucky. All right, I've been going for an hour and 20 minutes. You guys really don't want to hear me anymore. Got Brandon Bonta back here in the back. Spoiler alert, he shoots 300 against EJ Tackett. So if I said spoiler alert, hopefully you haven't watched it yet. Man, that guy throws the ball extremely well. Shoots 230 to Brandon's 300. I know what that feels like. So he bowled well. He bowled well all week long. This is what I said earlier in the video about moving to the ITRC. I think that affected EJ more than it did Brandon. Brandon could ball down to that 78U, and he was bowling great on that right lane. He had the right lane locked up. The ITRC just has caused EJ to throw equipment that he did not throw all week long because the lanes were quite a bit different, and their topography in the ITRC is a lot more exact than what he found at Euless Bolero. So, plus, EJ is just phenomenal pair to pair. When he just got on this pair right here and just he struggled a little bit. And so I felt bad for EJ. I think if this was back at Euless, EJ would have won this thing. I don't know if Brandon would have shot 300 anywhere but right here in the ITRC. It just set up really perfectly for him. And so kind of bad luck. I understand why they did it. The ITRC is a fun place to play. A lot of college tournaments are there. It is obviously a smaller center. But anyway, I think that is good for Brandon. I mean, he's a rookie on tour, shoots 300 for his first title win. Good for him. Hey, Big Johnson, 7415. He's been asking a lot of questions in the comments, and I do appreciate him. And I appreciate all you guys for being so supportive of what I'm doing. I've gone an hour and 22 minutes at this point, and pretty much talked the whole time. So it's been fun. So now I know how to do this. Hopefully the next one I do will be even better, and we'll get more people, and I'll let you guys know a whole lot earlier. I actually wanted to see how many people would get the notifications that I would be live today. So we've had a few, not a great number, but you guys have been great. I will let you know when I want to do this again. It'll probably be on a Wednesday night because it's the only time. It's the only time I have Wednesday nights is the only time I have to do anything. My bowl on Monday nights most of the time. Tuesday nights, I've got high school bowling through April. Wednesday night, I don't have anything. Thursday night, I bowl my normal league. And Friday night, especially this Friday, come on, everybody think about this. My son is the head basketball coach at a little school here in West Texas, and they are all the way to the regional finals. So he will be bowling. He'll be coaching. He's the head coach, and he'll be coaching them up on Friday night. And so I will be in another little town. All right, people asking me where I am. Yes, I am in Lubbock. You can tell by Whitewood Lanes. I am in Lubbock, Texas. Believe it or not, been here since I went to Tech. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you're looking forward to the next live stream. I need more people to ask me questions so that our content, I won't be relying on what's behind me here. So, yeah, Big Johnson, I know you're in Fort Worth. I think I told you I'm going to be in City View on April 11th and 12th. I'll be in Euless on the 28th and 29th. I don't have any tournaments scheduled for me right now, but I am going to get back into bowling tournaments again. Hopefully this year. I've got still one child in high school, and so I'm hoping to be adding some tournaments to my schedule because I'm actually bowling really well right now. I'm averaging about 17, over the last 7 or 8 weeks. I've been, low 700s every day out there, and I'm so very close. Have not had my 300 for the year yet, and I've been close on a couple of 800s this year. So I'm bowling really well. So I think I need to get back out there. I do have a slight little shoulder injury that I'm not real sure how that's going to get fixed, which is concerning for the channel. If I do end up having to have surgery, right now it doesn't hurt me to bowl, so it just hurts to sleep. Believe it or not, getting old is not for the weak. Just so you know, you got to be double tough to get old. So anyway, I need to get off of here. Yeah. So if you're in those areas while I'm in town, come by and see me and say hi, and I'll be glad to talk to you. At State, I will be coaching one girl directly, I think, when the teams bowl, which is in the morning. I won't have as much to do. I will be going around, and I do coach all the kids, but I don't coach any one team. I will be paying attention to one specific girl in singles, trying to help her out. She's been with me for 4 years, so I want to see her do well. And good to see you guys. Well, good for you guys to see me. I am a real person, believe it or not, and look forward to doing this again sometime soon. I'll try to give you a little bit more notice. I just wanted to see what would happen. So I've talked for almost an hour and a half. Probably shouldn't do that, but thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your comments. And I will see you next time on Bowling Over 50. If you're watching this video and you haven't liked and subscribed and hit the bell notification, you certainly need to do that because the bell notification will tell you when I'm going to be live next. I am learning that part. And go Brandon Bonta. And I may do another live stream on the one that happened this Sunday. I just finished watching that. I didn't get to watch it because I was at regionals with high school bowlers. So we may go over that in the near future. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time at Bowling Over 50.